Thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. Today I'm going to work on the outside cover of my Julie Nutting Paper Doll Altered book. So I've got all my layouts done inside and now I need to work on the cover. So what I'd like to do for my covers, I've got some other videos for mixed media covers and I like a lot of interest and texture on the outside of my books. But this one I'm not going to make it too wild and crazy because I want there to be a focal point. And I had an idea in my head of a Julie Nutting paper doll in a frame, and I found this in my stash. This came from a Daphne's Diary. I had a Daphne's Diary subscription that was given to me by my mom for Christmas, and when I find neat things in the Daphne's Diary, I keep them. And I kept this really cool picture of a frame. It's just on paper and it fits perfectly on the front of the book. So I think what I'm going to do with this is to mount it onto cardboard and fussy cut it out to make it nice and stiff. And then I'm going to cut this center part out, and I think what I want to do is decorate a Julie Nutting doll, like 3/4 of her body with her head and her body that goes inside of it, and that's going to go on the front of the book. And then there's also going to be texture. So as I go along, I'll show you what I'm doing and how I complete the cover of my book. So let's get started and have some fun. So the best way, I found a nice stiff piece of cardboard or card paper that I'm going to put this onto. I think the best way to attack this would be to just take my scissors and cut around this image kind of close to it. I like to adhere it to the card first and then cut it out instead of cutting it twice. If you fussy cut this out, glued it down, then you'd have to fussy cut your card. You're going to cut it twice. So now I'm going to put matte gel medium down and put this in place, squeegee it out, let it dry, and then I can come in and fussy cut this out with scissors and X-Acto, and it'll be all one solid piece. Okay, so here's my frame. I've cut it all out. It's got cardboard backing to it to make it sturdy. I made a Julie Nutting girl to go inside the frame and decorated her with little tiny size 15 seed beads, a little dimensional flower, a feather in her hat, and just made her all cute and pretty. And I put a little background scene from a magazine to make it look like she's in a garden. So that's my frame to go on the front of the book. I really like it. So now I'm going to add some texture to the outside of the book. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm just using some Mod Podge, a brush, and some inside of old sewing patterns. You could use tissue paper or the inside of paper napkins. If you shred the napkins to use the outside for collage, you can use the inside. But basically what I like to do is just take a piece of tissue paper, crumple it up, make it nice and scrunchy, crunchy. And then I'm going to just add some Mod Podge to the book. And start laying this into place. And it is easier in smaller pieces because I like to get a lot of texture. So I like to really scrunch it and pat it. So that you get a really lot of lines and texture. And then when it dries, it's just so cool to paint it and then distress the edges that are sticking up. I'll show you what I mean. I've shown this in other videos, but if you've never seen that from watching one of my other videos, you can learn it here. So it looks like that. So see how it's got lots and lots of crunchy texture. And I'm going to do that and cover the entire outside of the book. And then I'm going to let it dry really well, probably for 24 hours before painting it. So here's what the cover looks with all that yummy texture on it. Look at, I love that. Put it on the front, the back, and on the spine. So my next step, and what I like to do, is just to take white gesso and you can use smooth gesso, but I like using just regular gesso that does have a little bit of the texture to it. And I'm going to apply gesso now to the cover with a brush and just cover this whole thing in white gesso and then let it dry. So I'm just going to kind of go in circles, and you can see how it gets in between and gets down into all those little creases and crevices. So that's what I'm going to do. Next step is cover this in gesso and then completely let the book dry. So this is what it looks like with the gesso on and all dried. Look at all that gorgeous, gorgeous texture. I love that. So I did the spine and the front and the back and covered it all in gesso and let it dry. So now the next thing is to paint it with acrylic paint. And I was trying to decide based on this what color I want, and I was originally going to go with like a blue or something, but I don't know. I gotta really think this one through a bit. I could use a blue that's kind of like her dress. I am going to go over it with gold because this frame looks gold, and so it's going to be dry brushed with gold. I'm also going to add, which sounds kind of a little crazy, but I've got these beautiful, two of these beautiful appliques, and I kind of thought that these appliques look really pretty on and wrapped around. So they wrap around the spine. Look how pretty that is, over that gorgeous yummy texture, and then this popped up over the top of that, so that looks kind of pretty. So I don't know if I want to do just like an antique white and do a cream, if maybe I want to put a little gesso even over the applique and do something with that. I love that it's kind of a creamy off-white, and then the second one could go on the back side like this and cover the back side and wrap around, and oh, so pretty. And it just makes a really pretty cover. And then with my girl in a frame, I just think it's going to be gorgeous. So I'm going to figure out what color I'm going to put on my paint, and then whatever I'm going to put gold over this to make all those beautiful little bumpy areas of texture stand up in gold. And then I'm going to figure out how I want to incorporate these. Well, I held a bunch of different paints up to see, and like this blue is really pretty and it matches that blue. When I hold it up to the book and put this over it, it's pretty, and it does look nice, but and this would be pretty over it, but then I think that would make this look too over the top, and I do really want to use those. So I got out this. This is called Husk. It is a Jo Sonja by Chroma, and I like that it is, see, it's kind of a cream. It's a really, really creamy color, and it looks gorgeous with the gold, and then this over the top of it, I just think that looks really, really sharp. So I'm going to go with this, and then I think what I might do is use a little bit of Distress ink to antique it before I put the gold. So I'm going to show you that process. I wasn't going to show you the process, but now that I decided, that's what I'm going to show you. So the next step will be to just cover this in this color of paint. So here's the book painted, and I've let it dry. I noticed that I missed a few spots, but that doesn't matter because it's going to get covered. I'm using Caran d'Ache Neocolor too. I want to add just a little bit of color, not to the whole entire thing, but just in a few spots. So I'm just tipping it off the crayon, and even on those places that I've missed, just going back over and brushing it on with a water brush, and then just using my finger to kind of blend it out a little bit, just to give it a little bit of antique-y look. I'm going to, when this is all done, I'm going to be spraying a sealer over the cover, so it doesn't matter that I'm using a water-soluble medium. So I'm just going to brush on a couple of different colors. I've got two different colors here, and I just really like the effect. So it's making it look weathered and not so flat colored. I think that's going to look really pretty, because I am still going to add a metallic paint over the top. So I'm going to go ahead and play around with this. If you want to know the colors that I used raw sienna and brown in Caran d'Ache Neocolor too. You can also take your Caran d'Ache crayons and just color across the book in a few places. It brings up that cool, interesting texture. Just like that. It looks really nifty. And then take your water brush or your paintbrush and then just kind of brush over that lightly. Spread it out a little bit. And that makes another neat effect too, because it's going to be below the ridges, on the ridges, and so it looks really marbled and antiqued. So that's a fun thing to try too. Just color right on the book and then just start blending. You can also take your Holtz Distress Ink and your little tool, and you can come in here and add Distress Ink to this. So go around the edges. Like you would paper. And you can come in here and do it right on the book. So see how it goes down in between. So that's a cool thing to do too. You can kind of twisty it on. And look at how that's just adding that color and that color, how it's just adding some antiquing to this cover. So I'm going to continue to play. I'm also going to use some Dylusions ink spray in ground coffee. And I'm going to work with that on the book too. So what I like to do is take that cover piece and keep checking every now and then to see how it's coming along. I'm loving how it's looking. I'm going to put that aside so it doesn't get damaged. So now I'm just going to put some splatters. I'm using kind of a plum color as a contrast. I love the look of splatters. I like the plum. That looks really pretty. It's not a purpley plum. And I'm going to continue to do that all over the cover. So this cover is just turning out so cool in person. It looks so much better than it does on camera, but I just love how it looks antique and distressed. And now what I'm going to do is take some gold paint. This is just some Arteza in a really bright metallic gold, and a stiff brush, and the brush is dry, so you don't wet the bristles, and you just pick up some paint. This is my favorite part. Pick up the paint, kind of dab it around on your palette so you just have it on the bristles, and now you're just going to lightly come over and just start brushing on that gold, and the only place it's going to go is on those raised parts on all that texture. So look at that beautiful gold on the texture. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I love this part. It's my favorite to come in and add. You can do copper, silver, gold. You can go any colors of the paint on the book. You can make your book blues or teals. This is just such a fun way of finishing off your altered book and having that cover be something really fun and spectacular to look at. So I like to go in here and do all this brushwork, add all this silver or this gold. Look at, oh, so pretty in person. And then once that dries, now I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray some sealer on it, some just spray varnish of any brand, and seal it before I continue on with the process. So it turned out like this. Oh, and it's so pretty. I just love it. Looks so pretty. That gold just makes that book gorgeous. Okay, so now what I like to do, this is one of my favorites. I like the Krylon matte finish. It dries in minutes, it's moisture resistant, it's non-yellowing. It is very matte, so because I don't want this glossy. So I'm going to take the book outside, and I'm just really careful to avoid this part where you've done your artwork, and just be sure you spray in this direction so you don't get any overspray inside your book. And I'm going to put a nice coating of this matte finish to protect it and seal in, because I used water soluble types of mediums on here. You just want to be sure you seal it before you move on. So this is what it looks like after you seal it, and boy, it really brings out the colors, but it doesn't make it shiny. Isn't that pretty? Looks so pretty. And then look at what it's going to look like when I add this to the front. Oh, that is so pretty. I really like it. And I still think that I want to incorporate these maybe, but see how lovely they look. And they pop with that background that I did. Yeah, it just makes it. So I am going to add those to it. I don't think they take away from it. I think it looks really nice. So I'm going to add those to it. And I'm going to place those first and glue them into place. You can use E6000 is probably would be the best glue to use for that. So this is what it looks like with the appliques on it. So there's one down the spine, and then these on the back. Look how pretty that adds to the book. I love it. And now what I'm going to do is to take my Distress ink and just do a little tiny bit of Distress ink over the appliques, and that's just to make them not so stark, you know, kind of like give them a little antiquing and tone them down just a touch. Just a tiny, tiny bit. I want them to stand out, but I want them to be not so wah-wah. And so wedding looking. I mean, they're not wedding, but I guess they are. I don't know. Anyway, that's how it looks. I love it. It's so pretty. It's really coming together, and I just think it's beautiful. And then this is going to go on the front in the center like this. And what I'm going to do with this is to use hot glue. So I'm going to heat up my hot glue gun, turn this over, put hot glue on the back, and then quickly put it into place. The hot glue will adhere well to the applique and to the texture of the book and hold this in place nicely. Plus it's going to give it a little bit of bump up, so it's going to not lay so perfectly flat. You really can't use pop dots like you would for card making, because they won't stay on your book. So hot glue it is, and then I'm going to take some gold paint, and I'm going to add some more gold to this frame, glue on some gems, and then put my ties on, and then show you the final bits. So I added that to the front with hot glue, and I did add some rhinestones on the frame to add some gems. And then what I did was I took a brown Stabilo All pencil. This is a Stabilo All, and it is in the color of brown, and a water brush, and I added a dark shadow underneath the frame. So I just went all the way around it, so I cast a really dark shadow behind it. It really made it pop out even more from the book. So it's coming along. Next I want to add some tie closures to the book. So what I'm going to do is to take my crocodile and put it onto the biggest hole, the biggest punch, so the larger one down here. And I'm going to go right through the book. Now you could mark this with a pencil, but I'm going to eyeball it. I want it about right there. And so what I'm going to do is to just put this this punch all in here and punch a hole right through the cover of the book. And it goes right through the book board, just like that, and puts a hole. And now I'm going to come across and put one, the same thing, put one on the back side. And I'm also going to put one up here at the top. So I'm going to stick that in there and punch a hole up here so that I can add a few little dangles to the back of the book. So now for my holes to make my closure, I am going to use this Flexi Lace hem tape. and it's in pastel colors, and the colors look like the colors that are on her hat. It really matches her hat. So what I like to do with that is to just take some pieces, and I like them to be long enough to where I can tie it. Cut them at an angle. And then I'm gonna bunch it up here, bunch it up right in the middle, fold it in half. And then in that hole, I'm gonna put my tweezers through the hole from inside to out and put that tape and hem tape in there. And pull it through. So now I have a loop here and the tails here. Feed them through, pull, and there you go. And now I'm going to do one in the back hole the same. So now you've got your two ties that connect right to the front of the book, and you can use them to tie your book shut and tie it in a bow. So you can kind of pull it in a little bit, make a bow at the end with your lace, fan it out, and it looks really pretty. And that's a great closure to the end of your book. I love how that matches her hat. I did add some gold paint to the frame. And so that is it. Oh my gosh, the book is done. Oh, and I put dangles. So what I did is I put a piece of wire through the hole that I poked. I added a piece of chain. I put on this little gem here, or this piece of old costume jewelry with lots of bling on it. I put a charm that is a mirror, a hand mirror, and then a charm at the end with a flower. So those are dangles that hang at the end of the book. I think that looks just super cute, and it adds something to the book to have dangles. And so that's it. So we've finished this volume, and it was tons of fun. I hope you've enjoyed this project. We're going to keep going. I'm going to make a volume 2 because I have lots more ideas for altered book ideas and using the Julie Nutting paper dolls, so we might as well make another one. So here it is, and it will be probably put in the Etsy shop. I was going to keep it, but I think I might list it in the Etsy shop. I'm not sure. I can't decide yet. And in the next video, I'll do a flip through, a complete flip through of the entire book. So I hope you enjoyed this idea for how to decorate your cover of your book, and that you're having fun doing the Julie Nutting paper doll altered book project. It's been fun working with you guys. Until next time, go make art. Art soothes the heart.